updated them slightly, very, very slightly, I think, but so that's good. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 talks. Okay. Take your time. 2 talks. One is about managing your supervisor, and the other one is about managing yourself. Okay. So when it looks like I've stopped, I haven't really. I'm only halfway through. Okay, so I thought I would start with a threat. Okay? Which is, if you are ever bloody late for my lecture again. Okay. Why would you want to interact with your supervisor? Because they're going to write you a reference. Is that important? I don't know if it's important to you. I can't remember. Oh yes. Okay. So, put all these in there. I'll do that first. So you understand why you need a reference. You understand why you're going to come to people like me and say, "Well, you write me a reference." Okay. So there are a couple of people you might know quite well. You may know your personal tutor quite well. How many here have met regularly their personal tutor? All right, regularly. And they'll be able to, okay, so some of you, so that's one place to go. You may have your favorite lecturer who you've interacted with over the last few years, okay, who knows something about you. Or you have your project supervisor, okay. So this is the person who's going to spend 6 months' time with you and who will know exactly what you are like because of that. And you get to control what they write in the reference. Did you know that? You can actually help dictate what they write in the reference. How might you do that? Would you like them to say you're diligent and hardworking? Come on, I need a more interactive class. Yes! Yes! You're all hard. I mean, you're the guys that are here. I suspect you are the reason you're hardworking. So you would like them to say that. So how might you influence that? By being there. Exactly, by being there. Okay. What about manages time well, is punctual, you 3 at the back, and delivers on time? Not the 3 at the back, but the 3 at the second back. Punctual. Okay, so you, when you finish here, are probably the lowest of the low in the employment feeding ladder. Okay? So it's important. Are you all the time? It's important that these things are written in your reference. They seem relatively simple, but punctual. What's the point of getting an employee who is not very punctual? You can't be relied on, etc. So this is something that your supervisor will be able to gauge every week, will they not? Charlie, could you smack the guy behind you and tell him to shut the F up? F being a word of interest. Okay, so manages their time well, punctual, and delivers. Okay, so again, you get to influence that. You'll be able to get to say that. Good problem-solving skills. Okay, oh, I did not do that. Can you tell me? Or, listen, I've had a go at that. I tried these techniques. I'm not really sure the best way to go. Okay, so, you've had a go. You're proactive. You take the unit. It was too much. You're like, out. AQ?
Yes.
Out.
Yeah.
AQ.
Sit down.
Okay, so you haven't changed in a year then, I see. Okay, so punctual. I think we were talking about punctuality. Would anybody like to fill in AQ on punctuality, its definition? It means getting a job. Okay, proactive, so you want to look as if you're proactive, you go and try to solve things. Proactive could be meeting and helping other people around about you as well. Okay, you're not in a competition here. You know, there's not just so many eggs. And all the front row usually gobble up the eggs and God, you're left with the rest. It's a bar, so anyone can get across. You're not in competition, so you can look to help people. I'm not sure if I say this in here, but you can. You're going to be meeting in groups, I hope. Something I'll going to talk to you. And there are other people at your group meetings, and they all have difficulties, etc. So there's an opportunity to offer help. Have adopted a professional attitude. Of course, that includes punctuality, but it also includes behaviour. Okay. It also includes professional skills, things like being able to write, being able to interact in a sensible manner with other people. It's not something that's orthogonal to the issues above. Okay, so these are the phrases that you want in your reference, and you get to influence their appearance then. Now, it may be that you don't think you need supervision on a weekly basis. But nonetheless, it is worth going in order that you can display these characters. So, the interaction with the supervisor is important for all sorts of other reasons than this, but that is very important. Okay, so what should you expect from your supervisor? What are you expecting from your supervisor? To be punctual, to be professional, and all that, in case you have to write him a letter. Okay, anything else? To get feedback? Feedback on the last draft that you submit the week before the deadline? No, continuously. Continuously. You're meeting them every week. So we're constantly getting some form of feedback on how things are going. My feedback, for instance, is where the hell's the deliverable? What's the difficulty? Okay, let's see if we can address that. Anything else? I'm not sure what I got underneath here, actually, I've forgotten. So let's see if you come up with a list. Are you anyone just reading the list from last year? What other things might you expect? Forgotten myself. Let's have a look. Okay, so at the moment, you should be getting lots of help with assessing the feasibility of your project. In fact, you really should have had that over the summer. How many people here? Probably all of you, because you are here. Arranged a supervisor over the summer. Look, it's a real genuine survey. How many people? There are very few hands. That's surprisingly few. Surprisingly few. So how many people have just been saddled with the super? How many people have been saddled with the supervisor not of their choice? That doesn't add up to all of you, so okay, so you've been saddled with the supervisor that would have been your choice. Hello again. Where is your chair? I shall go get it for you. This is one of these new automated chairs. I have to automatically push it around. Where can I sit? Okay, so we were talking about punctuality. Okay, so assessing your feasibility project. Yes, so, okay, so most of you who chose somebody over the summer, you probably spent time over the summer deciding whether it was a good project or not. I hope. Okay, so remember what the project is. It's about a vehicle for you to be able to demonstrate your understanding of computer science. It's not a vehicle to set up a website, an entrepreneurial vehicle to make money for the rest of life. It's purely in order to be able to demonstrate the computer science you've learned and how good you are at it. Okay, so we have to look in terms of sort of minimum complexity that the project should involve. Things like databases, how many tables should they be, how many tool sets are you using, what are the safe skills that you'll have, you're relying on, what are the challenging skills you've adopted, the challenges in the project. Challenges is good, proactive, these sorts of things that we want to say in our reference. So, looking at the feasibility of the project in those terms, not just it's not feasible, you can't possibly do all that kind of work, it's also about making sure that it demonstrates the computer science has the capability of demonstrating the computer science you know. So you should definitely be asking your supervisor those sorts of questions. How many of you are quite close to finishing your, if you're not, I know my students, if you're not my student, how many are quite close to finishing the proposal? Okay. Given that you guys are here and are therefore the creme de la creme, that's not many of you. Okay, so I would say, I don't know if you're getting this, I would say regular group meetings. I think we advise weekly and we have weekly slots booked now, do we not? So have you all been turning up at those slots? Who hasn't? You know, this is, I'm not going to pick on you and report you later. I just want to get a sense of how this is going. This is the first time that we've done it, a booked weekly slot. How many have not gone to their slot yet? Right, I'm reporting you. So why is that then? Is it because you haven't had any interaction with your supervisor or you can't be bothered? The second one, all right. There's another hand up there. Is it Charlie? Or is it
no,
Charlie's mate.
My timetable was wrong, so it was the wrong room.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So you missed it. What about this week?
No, so it was already resolved like yesterday.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to go separately see yourself. So you've all been to your slots, which is great. No? No? I know you were. No, why have you not been to your slot? Your supervisor's been changed. Okay, yeah. Did you have Janet or something like that? Girini, who's left. We're recording this. This is being streamed, even to Burma. Girini, love you. We didn't mean that. Okay, what was the reason you were? Oh, Mello has not turned up for his meetings. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so apart from you guys, you should be getting regular weekly meetings with the supervisor. We'll talk about what you might expect there. Support creating and monitoring your work plan. So you are at the moment doing your proposal. So you're at the moment. One of the things you have to do is work out what the set of steps you're going to take are over the year. Okay, so I have some advice on that. But you should be getting help with that too. So that's good. Since many of you have not completed yet your proposal, there's plenty of time to do that. I would say also that if you identify over the year that there are areas that several of you perhaps don't know much about, that you should organise some kind of, he or she should organise some kind of tutorial for at those sessions. So for instance, we do some stuff on SQL, some inner joins, how do you do complex inner joins with SQL, we do some PHP, we do some stuff on MVC. So we do some regular stuff, tutorial work to support some of the key points along the way. I have the advantage that many of my students are all doing the same kind of project, so they're relatively synchronized, and that's easy to do. But nonetheless, these are the sorts of things that you can demand. Accessing technical support, so for instance, things aren't going right, you need to be able to say you just can't install the database software or something like that, then you can seek not support necessarily directly from the supervisor, but the supervisor ought to be able to help you access that help. And then feedback, as I said before, feedback on everything, not just the draft, the things at the end, feedback on your stakeholder analysis, feedback on your test strategy, feedback on your user requirements, user stories, the individual elements, like user stories, sequence diagram, whatever it happens to be. If you supply those, you should be getting feedback for those. Any other things that you could think of? You paid £9 grand, what do you want for it? Right. And I need, okay, so what do you want for it? You don't care? I mean, you go down to John Lewis, you've got to buy yourself a new set of sounds. Do you care if you're going to get? You're going to pay what? £600-700? You care? Just give me something off the shelf. What do you want? You don't care. So that's fine. That's okay. You'll get what you get. So, you know, be a bit more demanding in terms of what you need from a supervisor. Okay, so let's talk over the regular group meetings. Okay, so I think you should be getting these regular group meetings. I personally try to meet, in previous years I've always tried to meet for 90 minutes. I find now it's not quite enough to meet everybody. So we're trying 90 minutes, but one or two of us think our tourists has to disappear, has to disappear after 60 minutes. So you can't necessarily stay for the whole amount of time, but 60 minutes is better than nothing. And this is the sort of thing we do. I take a register, who was there, who wasn't there. In fact, all supervisors will be doing that. Find out who was there, who wasn't there. Sign logbooks. Okay, we stopped doing logbooks. You don't do logbooks? No, you don't know what I'm talking about. So we don't do logbooks. I'll take that out so I don't bamboozle anybody ever again. We used to make people do a logbook, which is a sort of practice that you would be doing in industry anyway. Okay, so we do the register, okay, and then we discuss current progress, and then the outstanding deliverables and the upcoming future deliverables. So we have a deliverable plan. You'll see we have quite an extensive deliverable plan, and each week there are at least 2 deliverables. And I will check whether people have done them, what's outstanding, when it's going to be done, and any future deliverables. There is a nominal idea that you guys are meant to manage yourselves, but we know what it is. So you need a lot of help managing yourself. What else do we do? We do, okay, so we generally open it out into issues that people are having. We haven't quite got there yet, because we're focused primarily at the moment on the preparation proposal. We may then have a topic discussion. So as I say, some tutorial issues, whatever it is that people decided they want to talk about, that was pre-planned, and then close. But I close after about an hour, but then the next 90 minutes, or after an hour, 15 minutes, the rest of the time, I'm there for people who want to talk about stuff that's a little bit more privately, or too embarrassed to say, or what perhaps even was pastoral, rather than to the project. So that's the sort of structure you should be looking to from the supervisor. The work plan itself, okay, so the idea is that you, how did that get there? Creating a work plan. Okay, so I'm going to show you the sorts of things we're looking for in a plan. Okay, we want to identify all the key steps that are needed to be able to complete the project. So, and the demo, of course, or the viva at the end, essentially the demo. Okay, so what are all the things that we could do? If we can have lots of them, then we can monitor the progress. If you're left with nothing to do for a month, you won't do anything until 2 days before the end of that month. Okay, so built around deliverables, so you'll see in a minute we have a very long deliverable list, and it provides for me a way of directly monitoring Mirella. If she says she's going to do something, where is it? No, this is what I'm going to get to a slide where we're going to demand this. Okay. So to me, it's a contract. So I get everybody. In my case, it's easy. They're all doing very similar projects. Tuba, I don't know if you agree that it forms the basis of the contract. There's a whole list of things. We've all signed up to a common deliverable list. That's easy. We're all doing web-based database projects. It's a bit more tricky for lots of different types of projects. But it's a contract, and it's monitorable. And it's interesting because it's a contract not just between me and you as a supervisor, but with the group as well, because it's terribly embarrassing falling behind it. Okay, you have a lot of other deliverables. You have coursework. Okay, so it also provides a way of thinking how do I integrate all of those things? So they consider all the coursework's deliverables and integrate them into your plan, and you'll have tons of stuff to do. There is not a weekend to spare. In fact, there is not a weekend to spare. In a very, very short time, very, very few months. So it's now October, that'll go by really quickly. November, December, they'll go by very quickly. Then there'll be a long slog of January, February, and March, when you've got tons of coursework, and then April comes along and it's got to submit. And then the rest of your life starts. You've got to secure a job. You have really 4 months to make a difference to your life choices. 4 months. Who's planning a Christmas holiday?
Planning what?
A Christmas holiday. You haven't yet. You can. But you have 4 months to influence your life choices from now on. You will come out with, oh, what kind of degree did you get at Kingston? Oh, you got third. This will limit life choices to 1. Better. Anybody still aspiring to a first? Usually people have given up to it by now. Charlie is going for a first. You're going for a first. Nobody else is willing to admit it. Yes! We're all going for firsts. Whoa, I paid 9 grand. Of course I'm going for a first. I know. I'll pay 9 grand and aim for a third. I am aiming for a third. Okay, so you've got to start quickly. There is not much time. And you'll see in terms of deliverables, there are deliverables due now. How many people have got project deliverables due this week? What have you got? What's the project deliverable this week? Good, and the what? Excellent. Excellent. Who's your supervisor? Okay. Who? You're the one that only turned up this week, so that's why I didn't recognize you. Sorry. Okay. That's embarrassing. Okay. Well, it proved the point anyway. Anyone else got deliverables for this week? Nobody? Yes? What have you got? Draft proposal, okay. It's one. Oh, it's done. Well done. So what are you doing the rest of the week? Limiting life choices. Okay. No one else has got deliverables due this Friday.
I don't think every supervisor works like you.
I don't care about the supervisors. I care about you influencing the life choices that you've got. You've got 4 months to do it.
You're not supervisor.
This talk is about managing your supervisors. It's not about being handed stuff in a plate. You ain't going to get it. You've got 4 months to go and influence your supervisor. Okay? If you're not getting this, you've got to go and get it. Okay. The work plan. All right, here is a work plan. I don't know why that slide's in there this year because we've changed that. I'll come back to that. I'll show you my plan in a minute. Oh, it must be here somewhere. Okay. All right, so I'm not quite sure where it is, but there is a slide with all the. In fact, I really need to find that. Okay, so here are the deliverables that we've agreed for the year. Okay, so we did agree this, didn't we, Marilyn? Yep. Okay, so these are all the deliverables that needed to be done. This is not necessarily the full set, but these are all the sets of things that need to be done in order to be able to complete your report and the software that was with it. Okay, so there was an initial draft done for last week, and this week we were doing a complete draft in the ERD. Then we're straight into the SWOT project proposal. Oh, I got that right? Oh yes, no, we've done that. Sorry, this week, my attitude. Anyway, I can't remember what version. Then we're getting straight in, installing all our software, stakeholder analysis, blah blah, table of contents. Whoa, we're away. So they're all Fridays. If you look at Fridays, there's 1, usually 2, sometimes 3 deliverables a week. So there's tons of stuff to do, tons of stuff. It might seem a long way to the if you want, I can you don't need to copy this. It's in the slide and I'll put it up. But it may take me a day or two, so if you want to photocopy it, just get on with it. So there's absolutely tons of stuff to do. And I'm trying to front load it as much as possible, because if you leave it to TB2, you'll be screwed. There's too many coursework to do in 2B2. So we've got to get as much done in the project as possible. In fact, we started the projects. My guys, when did we start the project? Summer, beginning of summer? When you didn't start, beginning of summer. Who else is here? Charlie, when did you start? Beginning of summer. So they've done quite a bit of the project already. Okay, so the rest of you, beginning of summer, where were you? Organising projects? Limiting life choices, perhaps? Okay, so, well, yes, I mean, you can have issues with some of those supervisors. Right. Okay, so there's tons of things to be getting on with. I'm trying to go back to where I was without. How long have I got you guys for? 2? I know you want to get away early. Okay, so it's not that you want to get away early, it's just sometimes you can't get there. Okay, so work plan. There is a work plan, it needs to be developed. Okay, supporting, I mentioned before, supporting topics. These are the sorts of things that supporting tutorials that I try to organize during the year. So we have a discussion about what would be a good literature to use, what would be a good topic. We discuss, these are not in any particular order, discuss the ideal structure. I have a talk like this about what a project, what the actual structure of your final report should look like. In fact, it's worth knowing that now, so that you can hit all of those things. Who is the distracting one at the back there? Down here? Do you want me to move him? Down. No more. No, move further over. Move further over. No, really, move. Leave them alone. Two, please. More. Okay, stop distracting. I'm the person they're listening to. Okay, so, in a way, that this is serious. You actually only have 4 months to influence your life choices, Tuba. You only have 4 months. Okay, so there's no chatting in lectures. What's the point? Okay, ideal project structure, that's really important to know now. In terms of the marking scheme, so you know exactly what you're hitting. It influences your deliverables. In there, I don't know if you saw chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, all the chapters were in there when they're being delivered. Okay, review of the requirements analysis methodology, so stakeholder analysis, or what we really spend our time looking at is use case stories. So there used to be somebody like Girini, who comes in and talks to us about it, but perhaps we'll find someone else. But just remind us, how do we do the user stories? How do we do the use cases and the scenarios? So just a reminder. Martin sometimes comes in and talks about user interface principles, so you can embed that in early. Beryl's come in, or Pushpa's come in to talk about data modeling. Okay, so developing the ERD, testing the ERD. You have an ERD, you probably have an ERD now. It's probably a bit rubbish. When you do the user requirements, you will get essentially a set of queries. You turn the queries into SQL and see if the ERD actually supports it. Okay, so that's essentially what we mean by the data modeling exercise. Complexity, database complexity and the SQL, so that's really about how big, many inner joins can we do. I used to, a few years back, I used to do this thing where I tell my students that if you had a query with 5 inner joins in it, that's 6 tables, I'd give you an A. And if it was 4, a B, and so on. I used to get the most weird queries that managed to link 10 databases together as people trying to game that. So I don't say that anymore. But you need getting complex queries are important in that, and the database complexity that goes with that, because it really tests your computer science. We do a suit day. Yep, sorry guys, we do a suit day. You have to come in a suit. Not you, my guys. Come in a suit. See any of my guys in a suit? Take this out. Okay. but we do a suit there. They have to buy a suit. Okay, and that's because, you know, not long after there'll be an interview. I also have to teach them how to polish shoes and stuff. Quite really don't know how to do it anymore. What else have I done? I've had Paul Lee come in and talk about MDC. You know, whatever it happens to be, what you want to solve your project, we talk about this, and I bring someone in to talk about it. Is that a good idea? You guys are not an enthusiastic, engaging audience. Was that a good idea?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Oh, there were loads. Those are things we did. We tried to agree these at the start. I haven't done that this year. I'm going to do them as we go along. Okay, so are all supervisors the same?
No.
It's a rhetorical. You're not meant to answer that. Okay, so some are busier. Some are busy. Okay, that makes access difficult. Some are better organized. Some are really dopey. Do we know any dopey ones? Some are more conscientious than others. Okay, so you're having to deal with that. Okay, so they're not all the same. You may need to influence. And these, I think, are your secret weapons, which should be deployed one after the other. Charm. My supervisor. Do you think we should have a meeting this week? Got it? Okay? So just be nice. Maybe with some you need to be persistent. Be persistently nice. Okay? Never angry. Never angry. That never works. And then maybe it needs to move up a level. We need to start demanding. I need a supervision meeting. I'm really worried about my project. I want a supervision meeting. I want you to look at my project. We need to meet more often. No. Okay, so you will never get a no. It may never happen, but you'll never get a no. And if it doesn't happen, we move to level nuclear, which is you complain. Actually write in to me or down. Doesn't always solve it either, but with most of the supervisors we've been talking about, that should be fine. Okay, so you paid $9 grand, you know you've only got 4 months left, you need that help, no one else has been assigned to you, you need to go get it. This is how you do it. Is that a persuasive argument? Is there a sense of urgency? Who knows that there's a sense of urgency? Does anyone want to admit that? That's it. Charlie, I really don't think you believe that. But then Charlie smiles all the time. Okay, so what you should be pressing for now, I think you've got it, but because we have supplied this now, a weekly meeting slot. Okay. Now, some people think it's a good idea to have a individual meeting with their supervisor. I personally don't see any advantages to that at all. One, that's a lot of meetings, and the supervisor will just go, oh God, I'm meeting with so and so. And then also the context will go on. Okay. Secondly, when you meet with the others, you get a sense of, wow, perhaps I need to hurry up, or I don't know how to do this. Oh, how much they're doing okay? Oh, I can help you. Maybe I can ask him for some help. I don't know how to install that. I've been having problems getting a PHP connection in the database. They seem to have solved it. Ask for help. I'll tell them to do it. Okay. So I think group meetings, pressing for group meetings is a good idea. So you obviously need now to get on with the work plan. That's the key thing. Identifying all of the steps. Okay? Not later, do it now. The proposal document's very small. It's not actually hard to write that. My guys, have any of you got that thing I handed out? The previous examples of proposals and remarks. Have you got it on you? You, Narelle, you don't have it with you? Oh, I just wanted to show it. Okay. Oh, who did that? Is that? No, actual previous proposals. And they're marking them. Okay, so that's the sort of thing you should be asking for. Could I see some examples of previous proposals and the marks that you gave them, yeah?
I asked JC for one. He said they were confidential and he wasn't allowed to give
Yeah, they are. That's why I took the names off them.
Okay. I asked for one. He said
No, just take the names off. Sorry? No, that's projects. Proposals. Proposals. You requested from... Tell them should just take the names off. I pay £9 you'll take the names off. Really? Oh, I have to press. Persistent charm.
I've been twice by now, I'm feeling embarrassed. That time.
Yeah, okay, well now maybe you just need to be a bit more demanding. It's fine. Just be embarrassed and not get the help you need and limit your life choices. Or demand. Okay, what can they do to you, these supervisors? Alright, so that's what I think you should be looking for now, yeah? Help, serious amount of help, and get them into the habit of doing it. What do you think? Am I barking up the wrong tree here? Will you do this? You don't see the need? You think there's a need? Any questions on that? Any other help needed in terms of managing your supervisors? Last chance? Yep. You don't get to change your supervisor, yeah. Because over the summer you had loads of choice, time to go and choose supervisors and projects, which quite a few people did, and then those that didn't bother got a random allocation. I'm sure you didn't bother for very good reasons. Does everyone remember being invited in April, May to discuss this project ideas with your supervisor? Okay, so let's talk about you. Management. This is the other weak link in the £9,000 equation. 27 plus living costs. £42,000. I don't know. Okay, so you need to. Okay, so I'm just going to give you some initial advice on the work plan. It's all about the work plan. If you get a good work plan in now and really scare yourself silly about how much work there is to do, you will maybe get started early. So I suggest you just break it up into these very simple parts. Okay, so by technology testing, I mean, get all the technology installed and everything ready. Go through the requirements, the design, implementation, and writing. Okay, so you will do, many of you guys are going to say, I'm going to follow an agile methodology, which is rubbish. You're going to follow some chaotic, mad way of developing your code, and you're going to call it agile, which is how things happen in industry as well. But you're going to write it up in the classical waterfall methodology. Why? Because the marking scheme has requirements, design, information, testing. What else did it have? Critical analysis. Okay. So if that's the marking scheme, those are the chapters. So in terms of the work plan, you want to get as much of the requirements analysis done as you can. Okay, the overlapping bits are obviously scrumming or agile, but design, implementation, etc. So you want a work plan that looks something like that. You need to put in a Gantt chart. It says something about putting a Gantt chart. Yeah, so that's your Gantt chart. Do not waste time with Office, Microsoft project. It is far too complicated. We'll never read it. It'll take you hours. You will spend far too long color coding it and making it beautiful, and our eyes will go straight over the top of it. Do not waste your time. Just a nice, simple, I think that's Visio. Work plan. These are the key work streams. At the end, aim to finish beforehand. Now don't aim to finish on the deadline. Aim to finish beforehand. At least a week beforehand. Okay, against that, what are all your other coursework you've got to do? Make sure you know where they are. Okay, we carefully design each year, or avoid, bunching of coursework. So you should find them reasonably spread out. I don't think you ever have more than 3 courseworks coming in a particular week. If you happen to be one of those people in 3, that would be nice. But nonetheless, there are relatively few people of that number coming in. Okay, so where are your other courseworks? They're not obviously part of your deliverable list for your project, but it's worth knowing where they are. Then plan to have deliverable or deliverables every single week. And in fact, I believe there's about 2 deliverables per week if you want to write a decent project. Okay, and so pop them into your plan. And as I said, this is what you should end up with, something like this. So what we got here, we got you find a lot of user requirement stuff here and more designy stuff here. Going into implementation, testing, and then writing up here. So what I've got, install software stakeholder analysis. All right, on Friday the 28th, one of those is the TOC, the table of contents. I want the table of contents for that chapter. That way I know you've thought about it. And if you haven't got one, when we discuss it in the group, you'll appreciate all the different things that need to be done. Go away, make sure you've implemented stuff. Where's your test data? Let's get all of that done early. Okay, so I like to have most of the implementational issues sorted out really, really early. Use case storage. So we're starting to do requirements, list requirements, Moscow, a draft requirements chapter some while after that, and then somewhere further down, that draft requirements chapter you give to me, to your supervisor, and then the supervisor will give you feedback on that maybe a couple of weeks to get in the final draft, because of course the final draft, before it's down. But you then have the requirements chapter out of the way. Do not write your chapters at the end. Never write them at the end. All of you, I guarantee, cannot write English properly. Guarantee it. You cannot write English. You see that guy in green just here? You need to lift your head up a little and put your, not looking at your groin, looking at your head up. That's it. What, see me like that?
I'm trying to help here. Phone. Put it away.
So, I'll carry on like this. Okay, so, what do I say? Write. You're writing is rubbish. You will use I's. You will use don'ts. Possibly. You will not describe things properly. Why? Because you haven't done it before. And then we ask you to write this in all this term. It's not fair. Unless you have to do it. So get these drafts in early. Get the supervisor through charm, persistence, demand, and complaint to comment on them. Once you've complained once, you're not going to have problems with the supervisor. Okay, so get things out of the way. Okay, now we're straight on to the design. We've done the requirements, we're doing some sketches, we're still doing some coding in here as well. Somewhere in here is the early prototype demonstration. So you're going to need some advice about what that looks like. Okay, so there are tons and tons and tons of deliverables that need to be put in the plan. Okay, so the plan should include things like this, what I call technology testing, making sure that you can install these things, installing all the stuff that you're going to do. Establishing connections, being able to use your compiler, being able to do your first bootstrap program. All of these kind of things, you need to get these things in and done early. Be able to execute and select and insert into your database early. Once you've done a one insert and one select, The rest of the project's easy. It's just more of it. But those are quite difficult steps to get right initially. Some of you, during projects and the management, would have done the coding side of things, wouldn't you? Many of you would have kept your head down and let someone else do it. Now, you have to do it yourself. So whoever did it is well ahead of curve. Okay, so the requirements chapter. Okay, so the PID, does that need to be in there? Project initiation, so that's basically what is the methodology you're going to use? Is it going to be an agile, whatever? And the SWOT, is the project worth doing? You're going to do a SWOT analysis. The result of the SWOT analysis is, will the project be worth doing? The answer will be,
Yes.
of course it will. Okay. Plus, but discussing some of the risks and things and caveats associated. You need to do stakeholder analysis, you need to find time to meet with clients, should there be a real one. Use cases, user stories, this requirements, all these little things you need to put in the plan, otherwise they won't get done. So on the design side, you essentially have user interface design, database design, there might be some other types of elements of design depending on the project. Okay, so we're looking at doing some data modeling, ERD, class diagrams, those sorts of things, workflow analysis of sequence diagrams, activity diagrams, these sorts of things. Identifying what are the key reports you need, and therefore designing some of the SQL now. Paper prototypes, worth doing paper prototypes, sketches. Sketches are great. Actually, one of the best projects I've got visually is where the pages are all sketched. There are real sketches in there. They're great, absolutely great. The project didn't end up looking anything like it, but the sketches were fantastic. And they were really scrawled, but you could really see the development. Principles of user interface design and any other guidelines, some static implementations, for instance. I'll make the page look like this, a bit in HTML to knock it up. It's not dynamic, it doesn't work, but that's what it looks like. Worry about things like system architecture, what you have to put in place. So these are all the sorts of things that might form part of your, work plan. Oops, sorry, I've gone past. That's the one you were trying to take a picture of. Implementation. Now, the implementation chapter is actually really hard to write because it's not very clear exactly what should be in this thing. But here's some, some of the examples. The key reports and data form entries. Okay, so you talk about those. Does anybody know Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe? Schlarty Barfast? Schlarty Barfast got an award, didn't he?
Building Norway.
He did Norway. He made Norway. He invented it. Very proud of Norway. That was his invention. And even if you go to Norway now, there is a plaque somewhere in Norway that says designed by Schlarty Barfast. He was very proud of his just empty bits in the rock and stuff. In your project, talk about, in the implementation chapter, talk about your Schlarty Barfast movements. Bits that you're really proud of. Okay. Testing, I'll take that out for a minute because we need to worry about that. You have a separate chapter for testing, or at least a separate criterion. Do you write that's a separate chapter, or in the implementation chapter it's a decision you have to make? I'm moving to let's give the lecturers what they want, which is a separate chapter with the testing in it. It's not easy to do it that way because it's then separated from the implementation. Okay, but I wouldn't mind, but there's a second marker to worry about. Anyway, the implementation side of things is a bit tricky, but you'll know from your project some of the key steps, key things, the components that need to be implemented. It's relatively easy to do for a database project. Where is it? So here, although I don't say very much, I don't need to be explicit. The first key report from the database, the first key form in which you insert stuff. So I get my guys to identify what is the first thing, bit of functionality, and then I just repeat it all the way through and find more and more and more of the pages to be implemented. Okay, okay. So testing is a tricky one. Testing is a tricky one. Okay, so In the testing chapter, you're going to talk, there's two parts to it. You're going to talk about what is testing and what are different testing strategies. What happened to the guy that I moved at the back? Has he disappeared? I've upset him. Okay, so different types of testing: black box testing, white box testing when it comes to code testing, usability testing. There's all sorts of different ways, debugging policy, and there's all that kind of thing you can talk about. And then you somehow have to evidence it. Okay, so give examples of how you've gone about doing this with lots of tables. And you don't do it for everything, but you'll just demonstrate. Okay, so this bit of functionality. This is what it should have done, this was the outcome, etc.
So if we have 10 functionality,
Yeah.
do we do only one of those?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you're providing evidence in the convincing evidence in the report for is your ability to do stuff. So you can show that you know how to do testing rigorously, and we can then assume that you've done it for the others. Okay, so when it comes to the writing deliverables, you should always have a table. One of them should be the table of contents. You should have thought about beforehand what is going in the chapter. And it's no more than the set of steps that you would perform to do what that chapter is about. So if it is requirements analysis, then the set of steps are, the table of contents are just sections around the various steps. So stakeholder analysis, use case stories, list of requirements, the Moscow process, and any other kind of things that you want to do. Activity diagrams. Okay, once you've done that, then it's draft proposal, final draft. These are the draft proposal and final proposal. Then the drafts of the chapters. Okay, so the initial draft, final draft, etc. These are all deliverables that you want to plan. Okay, so you pile them in there, and as I said before, you will find out all the different things that you need to do. And try to load as many of them down this end as possible. You want to get stuck in here, because more of the coursework and other topics are going to be later on. Okay. So just go back to that point. Actually, you know what? I think next year I'll make 2 slides. Finishing slide. Sorry? One is who's going to write the reference, so that's the threatening aspect. And the other one will be, was it worth £9 grand? And what did you do about it to get the £9 grand's worth? Okay, did you just hope it would happen, or did you have to go out there and fight to get that resource? So I finished more with more of the threaty one here is, what are you going to do to demonstrate to your supervisor all the skills that are listed here that will go into reference. I write loads of references, and to be honest, most of my references are very similar, or rather they have stock phrases I use. And so all I have to go is, AQ, yeah, that one, that one, that one. Yeah, do that. Remind me of it. We have a nice thing with suitable things said about somebody, and I've successfully ruined this clip. Because he was never punctual. Okay, so you can demonstrate all of these abilities in the interaction with your supervisor. However, if your supervisor is not there, you will not be able to demonstrate it. So you may need to make sure that he or she is there. Okay. Any questions about your own ability to manage your